I'm going to read to you a fictional text for you to make some inferences. So you're going to do this in your head. There are worksheets that go along with it, but I'm going to read it all out loud so you won't have to write. You're just going to listen and then think about it as I go through and do this in your head. An inference is a conclusion you come to based on reasoning and evidence within a text. Making an inference requires using both information from the text and your background knowledge. Read the passage below and answer the inference questions that follow. So you're doing the clues in the text plus what you know equals an inference, and they show you. And this is called the Hazelnut Child. There's a picture of a crane flying here. You have this in your packet so you can follow along as I read. Once upon a time, before the continent of Europe was given that name, there lived a couple who had no children. They wished every day for a child, even if he were no bigger than a hazelnut. At last, their wish was granted, and they had a child who was the size of a hazelnut, just as they had said. They loved the child very much, and they took excellent care of him. When the hazelnut child turned 15, his parents asked what he would become now that he was of an age to work. "I would like to be a messenger," said the child. His mother laughed and asked, "How can you possibly be a messenger? Your tiny feet would take an hour to carry you the distance anyone else could cover in a minute." "Give me a message to carry," said the boy, "and see how quickly I return." So his mother told him to go to the house of his aunt in the neighboring village and bring back a comb. "I'll be back before you know," said the boy. His mother held the front door open for her son, and off he went on his journey. He found a man on horseback who was headed for the next town. The boy crept up the horse's leg, crawled under the saddle, and began to pinch the horse's back. Rearing up, the horse took off at breakneck speed and wouldn't slow down no matter how hard the rider pulled at its reins. When they reached the neighboring village, the hazelnut child quit pinching the horse, and it slowed enough that the boy was able to climb back down its leg. His aunt was delighted to see him and gave him the comb he asked for. The hazelnut child returned home on the back of another horse and presented his mother with the comb. "But how did you get home so quickly?" she asked. He did not answer her question, but only said, "You see, I told you messenger was the profession for me." Using his newfound skill, the hazelnut child hitched a ride on a stork that was heading south for the winter and landed in a faraway country. There he met the king, who was astonished by this tiny creature who rode storks as if they were horses. The king was so taken with the hazelnut child that he gave the boy a diamond bigger than himself. The boy hitched the diamond to his stork and flew home, and he and his parents lived in peace and prosperity for the rest of their lives. Obviously, this is a fairy tale. Should sound kind of similar to you. We have a similar story that's called Thumbelina. So we had some vocabulary words that I read. Crept. Do you know what crept means? A paid occupation or job, wealth or good fortune. Move slowly and quietly to avoid being noticed, or greatly surprised or impressed. And crept means move slowly and quietly to avoid being noticed. How about profession? That's a paid occupation or job. Astonished. You guys know that means greatly surprised or impressed. And prosperity, obviously, is wealth or good fortune. So if I said that in the text it said they wished every day for a child, even if he were no bigger than a hazelnut, what can you infer about the couple who later became the hazelnut child's parents? What does it mean if they wished every day for a child, even if he were no bigger than a hazelnut? They wanted a child so badly they didn't care if he looked different from other kids. If you got that answer or something similar, you are correct. Okay, now we're going to go opposite. So we're saying the meaning is the hazelnut child was determined to prove he could accomplish his goals despite his small size. So this fictional story is teaching you something. But what quote from the story supports that? So think about what I read. You should have the paper in front of you. Give you a couple seconds to think about it. You might have come up with something else because there were a few in there that I thought, oh, this boy means business. But the one that they wrote down was, you see, I told you messenger was the profession for me. So if you got that or something else that's close to that, then you got that correct. And the last one, the king was so taken with the hazelnut child that he gave the boy a diamond bigger than himself. So what does that tell you about the king? It should tell you that the king was very wealthy. He had never seen anyone like the hazelnut boy, and he was impressed by him. So when you're reading stories and you see different things in the text, you should be able to make an inference, put together the knowledge that you guys already have. And you are a very bright bunch of students, and I am very proud of you. Thank you for doing this assignment with me. Have a great day.